The sun had barely begun to peek over the horizon, bathing the city of Chicago in a soft, golden light. In a small, worn apartment, Michael Walker carefully rose from his bed, trying not to wake his son, Evan, who was still sound asleep. The room, though modest and time-worn, was filled with love and warmth. Every object in the room told a story of struggles and sacrifices, but also of hope and determination. Michael, a man in his late 30s, had learned to appreciate every little detail of his life. Although poverty had been his companion for many years, his love for Evan had never wavered. With quiet movements, he made his way to the small kitchen and began to prepare breakfast. His mind was preoccupied with thoughts about the job interview he had that day at Contabilidad Ramirez. He knew this was a crucial opportunity to change his family's destiny. As he prepared toast with the previous day's bread, his thoughts drifted to the past. Emily, Evan's mother, had left Michael shortly after giving birth. The poverty and hardships they faced had been too much for her. "I can't live like this," she had said, before leaving Michael alone with a baby in his arms. Emily had grown up in a middle-class family and had never experienced the true harshness of life in poverty. At first, she'd tried to adapt, but over time, frustration and resentment grew within her. Michael clearly remembered the day Emily left. Evan was only a few months old. Emily, with tears in her eyes, told him that she could no longer bear the life they were living. "Michael, I can't keep living like this. Poverty is destroying us. I need something more, something better," she had said in a broken voice. Michael, despite his love for her, understood her desperation, but could not convince her to stay. With one last hug and a painful goodbye, Emily walked out the door, leaving Michael and Evan to face an uncertain future. That experience had left a deep scar on Michael, but it had also strengthened him. He had promised himself that he would never let Evan suffer from lack of love and care. Over time, Michael dedicated himself to being the best possible father, striving every day to provide his son with a dignified life full of love, despite their financial difficulties. Evan, now 10 years old, began to stir in bed, awakened by the first rays of sunlight filtering through the window. As he opened his eyes, he saw his father preparing breakfast, and a smile spread across his face. "Good morning, Papa," he said, his voice still heavy with sleep. "Good morning, champ," replied Michael with a warm smile. "Let's have breakfast quickly so you can go to school and I can go to my interview. Today is an important day." As they shared breakfast at the small kitchen table, Michael couldn't help but feel grateful for these quiet moments. Despite the difficulties, he had found a simple happiness in the daily routine with his son. After breakfast, Michael helped Evan get ready for school, making sure he had everything in his backpack. "Do you have everything you need for today?" Michael asked, looking at his son with eyes full of love and concern. "Yes, Papa. And you? Are you ready for your interview?" "I'm sure you'll do great," Evan replied with a maturity unusual for his age. Michael nodded, feeling a mix of nerves and hope. "Thank you, son. I'll do my best. After school, come straight home, okay?" "Of course, Papa. I love you," said Evan, hugging his father tightly. "I love you very much too, Evan. Have a good day at school," Michael replied, holding back tears as he watched his son walk out the door. With Evan on his way to school, Michael returned to the kitchen and sat down in front of the old computer. He reviewed his resume one last time, making sure everything was in order. He knew this interview at Contabilidad Ramirez was one of the few opportunities he had to secure a better future for Evan. He took a deep breath and stood up, determined to face the day with the best possible attitude. Michael Walker walked out of his apartment with a mixture of hope and anxiety. He walked briskly through the streets of Chicago, adjusting his tie knot as he tried to calm his nerves. He knew that this interview at Contabilidad Ramirez was crucial to securing a better future for him and his son, Evan. The morning sun began to warm the sidewalks, and the city slowly came to life. As he walked, his mind kept going over the possible questions and answers for the interview. He had to put his best foot forward, show that he was the ideal candidate for the position. "This is for Evan," he repeated to himself, finding strength in the image of his smiling son. Upon reaching the door of the Contabilidad Ramirez building, Michael encountered a scene that made him stop. An elderly man, visibly weak and shabbily dressed, sat on the ground, leaning against a wall. His dull eyes reflected a life of hardship. Michael felt a knot in his stomach as he saw the old man extend a trembling hand, begging for something to eat. "Please, sir, could you spare some food? I haven't eaten in days," the old man pleaded in a hoarse, broken voice. Michael looked around. People passed by quickly, avoiding the man's gaze, too busy with their own problems to stop. He felt a pang of empathy. He knew what it was like to have nothing. He knew what it was like to feel despair. With a quiet resolve, Michael reached into his bag and pulled out the last piece of bread he had saved for himself. "Here you go, sir. It's not much, but I hope it helps," said Michael, handing the bread to the old man. The man's eyes shone with gratitude as he accepted the bread with trembling hands. "God bless you, young man. Have a good day," he murmured, beginning to eat ravenously. Michael smiled faintly and continued on his way to Contabilidad Ramirez, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and worry. He knew he would now have to face the interview on an empty stomach, but he did not regret his decision. Helping the old man had reminded him how important it was to maintain his humanity, even in the most difficult of times. Upon arriving at the office, Michael was met with disappointing news. A sign on the door announced that the interviews had been cancelled due to an urgent engagement by Alexander Ramirez, the owner of the company. Michael felt as if the ground had opened up beneath him. All the preparation, all the hope, crumbled in an instant. He approached the receptionist, a young woman named Mia, with a mixture of disbelief and despair. "Excuse me, is it true that the interviews have been cancelled?" asked Michael, trying to maintain his composure. Mia nodded with a sympathetic expression. "Yes. Unfortunately, Mr. Ramirez had an unforeseen event. We are rescheduling the interviews, but we do not have an exact date yet. I am very sorry." Michael thanked Mia and left the office with a heavy heart. Disappointment enveloped him like a cold blanket. He walked slowly through the streets of Chicago, aimlessly, trying to process what had happened. He thought of Evan, of the promise of a better future, and felt a wave of frustration. Finally, he stopped at a small park and sat down on a bench. He watched children play and families enjoy the sunny day. "I can't give up," he told himself. "I have to keep trying, for Evan." With that thought, he got up and headed home, determined not to let disappointment defeat him. Finally, Michael decided to return home. Each step felt like a struggle against the tide of emotions overwhelming him. Upon arriving at his apartment, he found Evan waiting anxiously. The smile on his son's face was a painful reminder of the hope he had placed in him. "Papa, how did the interview go?" Evan asked excitedly, his eyes shining with a mixture of curiosity and hope. Michael forced a smile, knowing the truth would only worry his son. "There was a change of plans, Evan. They had to cancel the interviews, but they will reschedule soon. Don't worry, everything will be fine." Evan looked at him with trust. "I know you'll make it, Papa. You always do your best for us." Michael felt a pang of guilt as he hugged his son. The lie settled heavily on his heart, but he couldn't bear the thought of disappointing Evan. The evening passed in an uncomfortable silence, each lost in their own thoughts. The next day, as Evan got ready for school, Michael couldn't stop thinking about the difficult situation they were in. "Remember, come straight home after school," Michael said, trying to sound optimistic. "Of course, Papa, I love you," Evan replied before leaving, with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. At school, Evan found himself distracted. His thoughts constantly returned to his father, to the uncertainty surrounding their future. During classes, he could barely concentrate on the lessons, and his grades began to reflect his worry. The teachers noticed the change in Evan. One day, the math teacher, Mrs. Lopez, called him over at the end of class. "Evan, are you all right? It seems something is bothering you." Evan hesitated before answering. "I'm fine, Mrs. Lopez. I'm just worried about my dad. He's looking for work and it hasn't been easy." Mrs. Lopez gave him an understanding look. "It's important to talk to someone if you need help. You are not alone, Evan." Meanwhile, Michael continued his job search with a growing sense of despair. He spent hours sending out resumes and visiting offices, but the answers were always the same. "Sorry, we have no openings at this time." Each rejection was a blow to his confidence, and the pressure of providing for Evan alone increased. One afternoon, Michael sat at the small kitchen table, looking at the job ads in the old newspaper he had picked up. The situation seemed increasingly desperate, but he knew he couldn't give up for Evan. He had to keep trying. That night, as they ate dinner, Evan finally broke the silence. "Papa, have you found anything new about the job?" Michael took a deep breath, struggling to maintain a positive expression. "I'm working on it, son. I'm sure something will come up soon." Evan nodded slowly, but the worry in his eyes was evident. "I just want us to be okay, Papa." "And we will be, Evan, I promise," said Michael, with renewed determination. Although the situation was difficult, his son's love and support gave him the strength to move forward. Days passed, and although Michael faced numerous challenges, he never lost sight of his goal. He continued to look for work with unwavering perseverance, determined to provide a better life for Evan. Every morning, when he watched his son get ready for school, he found a new reason not to give up. One afternoon, as he checked his emails with a heavy heart, Michael saw a message that made him stop. It was from Contabilidad Ramirez. He opened the email with trembling hands, feeling a mix of hope and fear. The message was short, but it filled his heart with joy. The interview had been rescheduled for the following day. Michael let out a sigh of relief, allowing himself to smile for the first time in days. He knew this was another chance, and he was determined not to waste it. He got up from his chair, feeling a renewed energy, and headed to Evan's room. "Evan, come here for a moment," Michael called, trying to contain his enthusiasm. Evan approached quickly, noticing the sparkle in his father's eyes. "What is it, Papa?" "I received an email from Contabilidad Ramirez. They have rescheduled the interview for tomorrow," Michael explained, smiling broadly. Evan's eyes lit up. "That's great, Papa. I knew you would get another chance." Michael hugged his son tightly, feeling hope and determination intertwine in his heart. "Thank you, son. This time, I'm sure everything will be fine." That night, after dinner, Michael sat at the kitchen table, preparing everything he needed for the interview. He went over his resume, reviewed possible questions and answers, and carefully chose the clothes he would wear. Evan sat next to him, watching his father with admiration. "Papa, I'm sure you'll do great," Evan said firmly. "You always work very hard and you're very good at what you do." Michael smiled, feeling strengthened by his son's words. "Thank you, Evan. Your words mean a lot to me. I want you to know that everything I do is for you." As the night wore on, Evan helped his father prepare, handing him items and asking questions that helped Michael reflect on his answers. It was a moment of deep connection between them, where every gesture and word reinforced the bond they shared. Finally, Michael felt prepared. He rose from the table, taking a deep breath. "I think we're ready for tomorrow," he said, looking at Evan with a smile. "We are, Papa. Now you should get some rest. You need to be fresh for the interview," Evan replied sensibly. Michael nodded and headed to his room, feeling a peace he hadn't felt in a long time. He lay down on his bed, closing his eyes with the image of a better future for him and his son. Despite the challenges, hope had been rekindled in his heart. The next morning, Michael woke up early, full of energy and determination. He prepared a simple breakfast for himself and Evan, trying to remain calm as the minutes ticked by. As they ate, Michael felt the need to thank his son for all his support. "Evan, I want you to know how much I value your support. I couldn't do this without you," said Michael, looking at him seriously. "I know, Papa, and I will always be here for you. We will get through this together," Evan replied with an encouraging smile. After breakfast, Michael carefully dressed in the clothes he had chosen the night before. Each garment, though modest, was immaculate and well kept. He looked at himself in the mirror, adjusting his tie knot and taking a deep breath. "This is for us, Evan," he told himself, feeling a surge of determination. He left the house with Evan by his side, walking together towards the school. Upon arriving, Michael knelt in front of his son, looking into his eyes. "I want you to have a good day at school, champ. Think positive thoughts and don't worry about me." "I will, Papa. I'm sure everything will be fine," Evan replied with a confidence that gave Michael the strength he needed. Michael watched his son enter the school before heading towards Contabilidad Ramirez. He walked with a firm step, feeling the city come alive around him. Each step brought him closer to the possibility of a better future. Upon reaching the Contabilidad Ramirez building, Michael paused at the entrance. He closed his eyes for a moment, remembering Evan's words of encouragement. With one last deep breath, he entered the building, ready to face the challenge. The receptionist, Mia, greeted him with a smile and directed him to the waiting area. After a few minutes, Mia called his name. "Mr. Walker, Mr. Ramirez will see you now. Please follow me." Michael followed her through the well-lit corridors, feeling each step resonate with his expectations and hopes. Upon reaching the office door, Mia knocked softly and opened it. "Mr. Ramirez, Mr. Walker is here for his interview," announced Mia. Alexander Ramirez rose from his desk, extending his hand with a welcoming smile. "Mr. Walker, it's a pleasure to meet you. Please have a seat." Michael shook Alexander's hand, feeling a mixture of nerves and determination. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Ramirez. I'm ready to begin." The interview began with typical questions about his experience and skills. Michael answered clearly and confidently, feeling each response flow naturally. Alexander listened attentively, nodding occasionally. "Tell me, Mr. Walker, what motivates you to pursue this job?" Alexander asked with a curious look. Michael took a deep breath before answering. My son, Evan, is my biggest motivation. I want to give him a better life, make sure he has all the opportunities he deserves. I am willing to work hard and give my best to achieve this. Alexander smiled, clearly impressed by Michael's sincerity. I understand. Family is a great motivator. Now, I want to ask you a slightly different question. If you were to encounter someone in need on your way to an important interview, what would you do? Michael recalled the encounter with the elderly man and answered without hesitation. I would help them. I believe it's important to maintain our humanity and compassion, regardless of the circumstances. Alexander nodded slowly, his expression turning pensive. That's admirable, Mr. Walker. Let me tell you a story. A few days ago, I disguised myself as an elderly man in need and sat outside this building. I was testing the candidates, seeing how they would react to a situation of need. Michael looked at him in surprise, beginning to understand the connection. You were? Alexander nodded, smiling. Yes, it was me. I wanted to see who had not only the technical skills but also the character and empathy that we look for in our company. You were one of the few who stopped to help me. Your act of kindness did not go unnoticed. Michael felt a mixture of astonishment and gratitude. I didn't do it expecting anything in return. I just felt it was the right thing to do. And that's exactly what we look for here, said Alexander, rising from his seat. I am impressed by your integrity and compassion, Mr. Walker. I would like to offer you the position. Michael stood up, shaking Alexander's hand with gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. I promise I will give it my best. Alexander nodded, satisfied. I'm sure you will. Welcome to Contabilidad Ramirez, Michael. Michael walked out of the office with a sense of relief and triumph. He knew this was the opportunity he had been waiting for, and he couldn't wait to share the good news with Evan. When he got home, Evan was waiting for him anxiously. Papa, how did the interview go? Michael smiled, feeling his heart fill with happiness. I got it, Evan. They offered me the job. Evan jumped for joy, hugging his father tightly. I knew you would get it, Papa. I'm so proud of you. Michael hugged his son back, feeling that all the sacrifices and efforts had been worth it. He knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, one filled with hope and promise for the future. The next day, Michael woke up early, full of energy and determination. He prepared for his first day of work at Contabilidad Ramirez with the same meticulousness he had shown when preparing for his interview. He wanted to make a good impression from the start and demonstrate that the trust placed in him was well-founded. When he arrived at the office, he was greeted again by Mia, who led him to his desk. Welcome, Mr. Walker. I hope you have an excellent first day, she said with a smile. Thank you, Mia. I'm ready to begin, Michael replied, feeling a little nervous but also excited. Michael quickly immersed himself in his tasks, reviewing documents and familiarizing himself with the company's systems. However, it wasn't long before he encountered his first challenge. Victoria White, an experienced colleague, looked at him with disdain from her desk. Victoria had been with the company for many years and was not convinced that Michael was the right person for the job. I hope you know what you're doing, Walker. There's no room for error here, Victoria said sternly as she walked past his desk. Michael remained calm and replied courteously, I will do my best to ensure that my work is impeccable, Ms. White. Victoria frowned but said nothing more. Michael knew he would have to work even harder to earn her respect and prove his worth. Throughout the day, Michael strove to perform each task with precision and efficiency, staying focused despite Victoria's critical glances. When lunchtime arrived, Michael made his way to the small office kitchen, where he found several of his new colleagues. He joined them, trying to integrate and get to know his team better. "Hi, Michael. How's your first day going?" asked Luis, a young accountant with a friendly demeanor. "It's going well, thanks. I'm just trying to catch up on everything," Michael replied with a smile. "It's normal to feel that way at first. If you need any help, don't hesitate to ask," said Emma, another co-worker, encouraging him. Michael appreciated their words and felt a little more relaxed. As the afternoon progressed, he began to feel more secure in his new environment and decided that he would not let the negative attitudes of a few affect him. Meanwhile, at school, Evan was also experiencing positive changes. With the news that his father had secured a stable job, Evan felt more secure and happy. This was reflected in his behavior and academic performance. He began to participate more in class, and his grades improved, earning him praise from his teachers. "Evan, I see a great improvement in your work lately. What has changed?" asked Mrs. Lopez, his math teacher, with a smile. "My dad got a good job. We're more stable now, and that makes me feel better," Evan replied proudly. "That's wonderful, Evan. Keep up the good work," said Mrs. Lopez, encouraging him. With each passing day, Michael and Evan adapted better to their new life. Michael continued to face challenges at work, but his dedication and effort began to pay off. His commitment to excellence and ability to innovate soon caught the attention of his superiors at Contabilidad Ramirez. One day, while reviewing the financial reports, Michael noticed a worrying discrepancy. The numbers were not adding up, and there appeared to be a serious problem with the company's accounts. He knew he had to act quickly to avert a major crisis. He decided to take the matter directly to Alexander Ramirez. "Mr. Ramirez, I need to speak with you about something urgent," Michael said, entering Alexander's office. Alexander looked up from his papers and nodded. "Go ahead, Michael. What's the matter?" "I've found a significant discrepancy in the financial reports. It could indicate a serious problem if not addressed immediately," Michael explained, showing the documents. Alexander frowned as he reviewed the reports. "This is concerning. What do you suggest we do?" "I think we need to conduct a full internal audit to identify the root of the problem. In addition, we should review our current procedures to ensure that this doesn't happen again," Michael replied with determination. Alexander nodded, impressed by Michael's initiative. "You're right. Organize the audit and make sure everything is done meticulously. I trust your judgment." Michael got to work immediately, organizing the team and starting the internal audit. It was a long and exhaustive process, but they finally discovered that there were errors in the way some transactions were being recorded. Michael proposed new measures to improve accuracy and transparency in financial procedures. During this process, Victoria White's attitude towards Michael began to change. Although initially skeptical, she began to respect Michael's dedication and ability to solve complex problems. One day, after an intense meeting, Victoria approached him. "Michael, I have to admit that at first I doubted your abilities, but you have proven to be a great addition to the team." "Good work with the audit," Victoria said with a smile. "Thank you, Victoria. I appreciate your words. It's important to me that we work together for the success of the company," Michael replied, relieved to have earned her respect. Over time, Michael and Victoria developed a strong and respectful working relationship. They both recognized each other's value and collaborated to implement new strategies that would help the company overcome any future financial challenges. Meanwhile, at home, Evan was also thriving. His academic success continued to improve, and with his father's financial stability, he was able to explore new extracurricular activities. Michael made sure to support his son in all his passions, from soccer to music. "Dad, I would like to try learning to play the guitar," Evan said one day with enthusiasm in his eyes. "That sounds great, son. Let's look for a music school so you can start learning," replied Michael, happy to see his son so motivated. Life at home became more harmonious and filled with happy moments. Michael and Evan spent their evenings together, sharing stories and laughing. Each of Evan's achievements filled Michael with pride and gave him the energy to keep working hard. At Contabilidad Ramirez, the changes implemented by Michael began to show positive results. The company not only avoided a financial crisis, but also began to see sustainable growth. Alexander Ramirez was impressed by Michael's accomplishments and decided to publicly recognize his efforts. During a company-wide meeting, Alexander stood up to speak. "I want to thank everyone for their hard work and dedication. I particularly want to recognize Michael Walker for his initiative and leadership in the recent audit. Thanks to his efforts, we have significantly improved our financial processes." Everyone in the room applauded, and Michael felt humbled and grateful for the recognition. He knew he could not have done it without the support of his colleagues, and above all, his son, Evan. A few days after the meeting, while Michael was enjoying a quiet weekend with Evan, something unexpected happened. They were at home preparing dinner together when the doorbell rang. Michael put down what he was doing and went to answer, unaware that the person on the other side of the door would change the course of his life once again. Upon opening the door, he found himself face to face with Emily, his ex-wife. She was elegantly dressed and wore an expression of both nostalgia and determination. "Hello, Michael," Emily said in a soft but firm voice. "Can we talk?" Michael felt a knot in his stomach. It had been many years since he had last seen her, and her presence now, after all that had happened, left him perplexed. "Emily, this is unexpected. What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you. I've heard that things have been going well for you lately, and I would like to make amends," she replied, looking at him with a mixture of pleading and determination. Michael invited her in, knowing that this conversation was inevitable. "Evan is in the kitchen. I'm not sure if this is the best time," he said, trying to remain calm. Emily nodded. "I understand. I just need a few minutes." They entered the living room and sat down. Evan, hearing voices, peered in to see who it was and froze when he saw his mother. "Mom? What are you doing here?" he asked, surprised. "Hello, sweetheart. I've come to talk to your father. We need to clear some things up," Emily replied, trying to sound affectionate. Michael took a deep breath. "Emily, what is it that you really want?" "I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I believe I made a mistake leaving you. I realize that together we can give Evan a better life. Now that you are financially secure, we could start over," Emily said bluntly. Michael felt a mixture of anger and sadness. "So, you've come back because things are going well for me now? Do you expect us to forget everything that happened and go back to being a family just because of money?" "Michael, it's not just about the money. I realize that you and Evan are the most important thing to me," Emily replied, though her words rang hollow and calculated. Evan, who had been listening silently, intervened. "Mum, you can't just come back because we're doing better now. You left us when we needed you the most." Michael looked at his son with pride. "Evan is right. You left us at a very difficult time, and we had to rebuild our lives on our own. We're doing well now, and I don't think it's fair to us for you to come back just because things are better." Emily tried to retort, but Michael stopped her. "Emily, I'm sorry, but we can't go back. Our relationship ended a long time ago, and we've found our way to move on. Evan and I are fine without you. I wish you the best, but we can't be together." Emily's expression changed to one of frustration and defeat. "I understand," she finally said. "If that's what you've decided, I'll respect it." Emily got up and headed for the door. "Goodbye, Evan. Take care," she said before leaving. After the door closed, Michael and Evan sat in silence for a moment. "Dad, did we do the right thing?" Evan asked, seeking reassurance. Michael hugged his son. "Yes, son. We did the right thing. Our life is good as it is. We have each other, and that's all that matters." Over time, Emily's presence faded from their thoughts. Michael and Evan continued to move forward, strengthening their bond and building a life filled with love and mutual support. Inspired by the hardships he had overcome, Michael began to think of ways to help others in similar situations. He knew that many families faced financial and emotional challenges, and he wanted to do something to make a difference. It was then that he decided to propose a series of community programs through Contabilidad Ramirez. One day, during a meeting with Alexander Ramirez, Michael presented his idea. "Mr. Ramirez, I've been thinking about how we could give back to the community. I would like to propose a series of programs to help families in need and promote financial literacy," he said with conviction. Alexander listened attentively and nodded. "That's an excellent idea, Michael. Tell me more about what you have in mind." Michael explained his vision of financial literacy workshops for low-income families, tutoring programs for students, and community activities to foster social cohesion. Alexander was impressed by Michael's passion and commitment to the community. "I really like your proposal, Michael. Let's work on this together. I want you to lead this project," said Alexander with a smile. With Alexander's support, Michael began to organize the community programs. He worked closely with his colleagues and local organizations to ensure that resources reached those who needed them most. His dedication and effort did not go unnoticed. Michael also involved Evan in these activities. He wanted his son to learn the importance of helping others and being an active member of the community. Together, they participated in workshops and activities, sharing their time and knowledge with those in need. "Dad, I really like helping out with these programs. I feel like we're doing something important," Evan said one day, as they were driving home from a workshop. "That's right, son. Helping others is one of the most valuable things we can do." "I'm very proud of you," Michael replied, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. The community programs soon began to have a significant impact. Families who attended the financial literacy workshops learned to better manage their resources, which allowed them to improve their economic situation. Students who participated in the tutoring programs showed a remarkable improvement in their academic performance. The community also became more united thanks to the activities organized by Michael and his team. Events like community cleanup days, job fairs, and local festivals helped strengthen ties between neighbors and create a sense of belonging. The success of these programs caught the attention of local media, which highlighted the work of Michael and Contabilidad Ramirez. In an interview with a local newspaper, Michael spoke about his motivation and the importance of giving back to the community. "I myself have gone through difficult times, and I know how important it is to receive support. These programs are our way of giving back to the community what we have received. "We want to help families build a better future," Michael said during the interview. Alexander Ramirez also publicly recognized Michael's work during a company ceremony. Michael Walker has proven to be not only an excellent professional but also a leader committed to our community. His initiative and dedication have had a profound and lasting impact, said Alexander, as all those present applauded. Evan watched with pride as his father received the recognition he deserved. He knew how much effort and heart Michael had put into these projects, and he was inspired by his example. Over time, Michael became a respected and admired figure both at Contabilidad Ramirez and in the community. His work had not only improved the lives of many people, but it had also reinforced the values of solidarity and empathy in Evan. One day, as they were walking through the park, Evan looked at his father and said, "Dad, I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to help people and make a difference." Michael smiled, feeling immense gratitude and pride. "And you will, son. I'm sure you'll do great things." The lives of Michael and Evan continued to be filled with challenges and successes, but always with the certainty that together they could overcome any obstacle. The story of their journey from adversity to becoming pillars of their community was a testament to the power of love, dedication, and the will to do good. Michael Walker's story is a journey full of sacrifice and determination, which shows profound humanity and strength in the face of adversity. Michael, a humble and hard-working man, faces poverty and the responsibility of raising his son Evan alone after his partner Emily leaves them, unable to bear the hardship of their situation. From the beginning, the narrative immerses us in Michael's daily routine, who gets up early to prepare breakfast while his mind is occupied with thoughts about a crucial job interview. This portrayal of a daily life, full of small struggles and great hopes, is moving and authentic. Michael's day is marked by an act of kindness when, on his way to the interview, he decides to share his last piece of bread with an elderly man in need. This gesture shows his empathy and solidarity, even when he himself is in a difficult situation. However, fate seems to play against him when the interviews are unexpectedly cancelled, a blow that Michael handles with resilience. Despite the disappointment, Michael does not give up. His love and commitment to his son give him the strength to move forward. The story teaches us the importance of perseverance, empathy, and the value of maintaining hope, even in the darkest of times. Michael represents the human spirit in its noblest form, reminding us that, amidst difficulties, there is always room for humanity and hope. If you found the characters' journeys inspiring, please like and comment to share your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more uplifting stories that highlight the power of human connection and kindness. Thanks for watching.